AEW have too many heel champions and too many heel factions, and because of that, it's making the product almost impossible to book. And it also makes it significantly harder for AEW to sell tickets. Welcome to Allison Analysis. I'm Ben Allison, and I've analysed last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, and here are my 5 key findings. But before we get started, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be really appreciated. Here at Wrestling Republic, we create 7 to 10 free videos per week, plus a live free every single day podcast at 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And all we ask is if you could please just like, subscribe, and comment. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. In at number 5, Shelton Benjamin is looking better than he has done in years. And I would ask, where was this version of Shelton Benjamin in WWE those past few years? But the reality was, he just wasn't given those opportunities, was he? And it's unfortunate, because if he had this much left in the tank, if he wasn't given opportunities, I don't know why they didn't just let him go. Because right now, especially in his match last night against Lio Rush, he looked absolutely incredible. And I think he could be a legitimate threat in the AEW men's division. Presuming they really are going to bring Bobby Lashley into AEW and reunite the Hurt Business like they are teasing, I'm really happy they brought in Shelton Benjamin and MVP first. And the reason for that is it gives you time to establish Shelton Benjamin, or I should say re-establish him. Remind fans why he is such a big threat. Because if they brought them all in the same time, well, he could very much just look in the background to Bobby Lashley. But now the AEW audience is reminded of how much of a star Shelton Benjamin is. Also, the fact that Lio Rush was given a business card after the match makes me think that we could well see him join the Hurt Business. And him being the replacement for Cedric Alexander would make a lot of sense. After all, both him and Bobby Lashley have had a lot of history together throughout the years. In at number 4, Queen Aminata has the potential to be a star. We very rarely get to see her on AEW Dynamite, unfortunately, but every single time we do, she blows it out of the water, and last night her match with Mercedes Moné was no different. Moné did not carry her, she held her own, and while the result, well, it was obvious from the start, it was still a really good match and a really good showing for Aminata. I really wish they showed her on Dynamite more, and also gave her some character development, tell fans what her backstory is. That way they'll care for her more, because she has the look and the skills to be a major star in that division. And I don't know how long's left on her contract, right? But if it is coming up fairly soon, if her booking does not improve, then I genuinely think she should look at her options elsewhere, specifically in NXT, the only place right now which is booking women's wrestling well. Because her in the NXT women's division, I think she could be a huge star. In at number 3, the return of Kenny Omega is near. After so long, one of my favourite wrestlers is about to return, and I am hyped. The Kenny Omega birthday celebration last night on AEW Dynamite was a clear reminder of the Elite's feud with him and the fact that he is coming back really, really soon. And Jack Perry's closing words, that intense stare, it makes me think that's going to be Omega's first match. And of course, this comes just days after Kota Ibushi said that Kenny Omega would be back in AEW within the next 2 to maybe worst case scenario 3 months, and he said that Kota Ibushi would be alongside him. So I'm guessing we're going to see Omega versus Perry first, and then the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks. I am hyped. Now, the one thing I will say is Jack Perry hasn't had a match in a while where after I've watched it, I've been like, wow, what a match, especially in singles competition. So I am wondering, well, not wondering, I think this is going to be a big moment for Jack Perry. He's got to deliver. And people expect to see the best matches from Kenny Omega. And considering he's been out for so long and the gruesome injury he's had, well, it's going to be difficult for Omega. So Jack Perry is not only going to have to put on one of the best matches of his career, the best performances of his career, but he's also going to have to carry Kenny Omega at times. It's going to be a real test for Perry, but I do think he's ready. In at number 2, AEW has too many heel champions and too many heel factions right now. They have 8 titles in their company and all 8 are currently held by a heel. But even worse, last night's AEW Dynamite featured 4 consecutive segments which had 4 different heel factions essentially all saying the same thing. We had the BCC saying they were taking over the company, the Elite saying basically the same thing, we then had the Don Callis family say they were going to win every title in the company, and then we had the New Hurt Business saying if you're not with them, then you're against them, and they're going to take over AEW. That's 4 factions, and all 4 of them were wearing quite similar black attires, and all had a really similar message. And the Conglomerate are really the only proper face faction right now, so they're feuding with like 20 different people. The poor Dark Order have had to come out from the shadows and suddenly try and re-establish themselves as a proper faction just so they can be beaten up by the BCC. No wonder why the Undisputed Kingdom suddenly disappeared off TV, otherwise we would have had 5 of these factions. And 6 if the Bang Bang Gang hadn't turned face. Yesterday on WR Daily, Soul said the reason that he believes Chris Statlander turned heel was just so they'd have a face opponent for Mercedes Moné because they have basically none left in the AEW Women's Division. But the worst part is, Mariah May is the world champion and she's getting the mid-card champions leftovers. Literally everyone she's facing has already been beaten by Moné during this reign. And it sucks because Mariah's killing it right now too. And I'm guessing Britt Baker's next for her, but again, she's already been beaten by Moné less than 2 months ago. There's too many heel champions, too many heel factions, it's too much. But worst of all, how are you going to expect to sell tickets if there's not somebody that the fans want to go and see with a title and all of that? I don't understand it. I really don't with this company because they've got so much good talent. They write fantastic storylines. And then they just shoot themselves in the foot for no reason and make it impossible for them to book it. And on that note, in at number 1, I really felt bad for Adam Cole on last night's AEW Dynamite. The dude had an impossible task, the hardest promo of his career, a promo which 99% of wrestlers will never have to cut. He had to try and save the biggest storyline in the company's history in one promo. And he did cut a great promo, but it didn't save it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do think it was just straight up impossible. He tried to say, well, I've decided I don't need the Undisputed Kingdom, I need to do this alone. Then why did you form them to turn on MJF? Also, 9 months ago when you first returned, why were you cutting heel promos on the crowd with them? None of it makes any sense, and it's just completely killed one of the biggest storylines in the history of AEW, and it sucks. I still don't understand why they turned MJF heel. Just for that feud with Ospreay? I mean, couldn't they have just delayed that for next year or just not done it? I mean, it's not worth risking the biggest storyline in your company's history over. It's just not. They should have waited for Adam Cole to return. If you wanted the faction to return as tweeners, then do that. Have them be nice to the crowd. Have them be cool. Have the fans root for them because they missed Adam Cole. And that's when MJF starts to get bitter. He starts to get upset that the fans are rooting for Adam Cole. Bang! You have a proper reason to turn him heel. But nope, they had to do it the way they did it, and now this storyline's just ruined. I'm going to be honest with you, I might have just preferred it if they completely ignored it and just brought Adam Cole back to feud with somebody else. I mean, that would have sucked too, but I mean, it's just ridiculous. But that's all my thoughts for last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will be back on Saturday to talk a little bit of Friday Night SmackDown. I hope to see you guys then. Peace.